welcome to this edition of In the Studio. Today we are in with Aisha Richards, who is the Community Officer of the Climate Resilience Execution Agency of Dominica, CREAD, and Mrs. Nadia Pinard, the Director of the Adult Education Division. We are here to speak about two programs ongoing under the auspices of CREAD, the Kudma Dominique and the Strong Bodies, Strong Minds. Mrs. Pinard and Miss Richards are here to tell us about these two programs. Ladies, hello and welcome to In the Studio.
Hello, thank you.
Happy to have you with us. I'll start with you, Mrs. Pinard. Kudma, we know, has a strong tradition in Dominica. It's something we're very familiar with, and we know it as people helping people within the community level. Tell us, what is Kudma Dominique and what are its objectives?
Okay, so Kudma Dominique is an initiative from the Ministry of Governance in collaboration with CREAD. So our aim is at empowering individuals to be active, civic-minded stakeholders in their communities by helping to rebuild the national movement of the community self-help. And so doing, we want people to come back to the point where they once cared for each other and to build back the communities and make it stronger. So that's our main aim.
Aisha, from the CREAD perspective, how do you define the program?
Okay, so from the CREAD's perspective, Kudma Dominique is one of the top 10 priority areas under the Climate Resilience and Recovery Plan. The Climate Resilience and Recovery Plan came about as part of the National Resilience and Development Strategy 2030, which is looking at making Dominica one of the first climate resilient nation in the world. So for us, Kudma Dominique and community self-help is a critical aspect of building resilience at the individual level, and that will translate into building resilience at the community level, which will help build resilience at the national level.
Both of you have hinted about the rationale for the Kudma Initiative, but tell us a little bit more about how you developed this program and why you thought it would encourage people to return to the practice of Kudma.
Okay, so the Kudma Initiative falls under the Ministry of Governance, like I said earlier, and the Ministry of Governance, our main portfolio is citizen empowerment. So in our strategic plan for 2020-2025, we seek to, we want people to get the opportunity to access and develop the capabilities that are valuable and to actively participate in the development or decision making of the community. So in that, we just want persons to come back, get back the community spirit. So at adult education, we mobilize people, we get people to come back, give back to the community and show more appreciation. You know, sometimes we think that people don't care, but if we don't get them involved, if we don't tell them what is happening, they don't know. So we're trying to get people, mobilize people to get back, love their communities a bit more.
Aisha, tell us a little bit more about why the people at CREAD, you are encouraging this return to community togetherness in order to facilitate development.
Yes, so as Mrs. Pinard said, Kudma is one of the traditions of Dominica, and it's something that was integral in building development at the community level throughout Dominica. And we need that still, although it might not be in the same way that it was done before. So what we're looking at is how do we take that traditional sense of Kudma, of community self-help, and modernize it and make it so that everybody can be involved in community development once again. So this is the idea behind Kudma Dominique, is to help to build community cohesion. When you have that during normal times, it is very helpful when things go wrong. As we have seen after Maria, whether you like your neighbor or not, you were in need and therefore you help them. So we want to create this sense where in each community in Dominica, people know each other, people are using their skills to help each other, even when we don't have a disaster. So this is what Kudma is about.
How do you plan to go about achieving this community cohesion that you speak of?
Okay, so the Adult Education Division and the Ministry of Governance, we have already begun. We have partnered with NEP, the National Employment Program, Forestry Division, Community Development, the councils, the health district, everything. We have already formed a partnership, and with CREAD we are even building more collaboration, because we had a meeting last week where we had other stakeholders. So our aim is to get the councils, because they are the root. They know the community members, they know the people. So we first start with the councils. Our officers will go to them, find out their needs, and we build on that. What we want to do is make people more self-reliant. The government can assist, but we have to have some input. For example, a road needs building. We don't have to wait for the government to. We can raise funds, get our businesses on board.
Yeah.
You know, and we have begun. For example, we had a beautification project in Biosh where we painted the bus stop and we planned. Now we wrote to Best Buy. What's the place in Goodwill, Carnassi, right? Do It Center. They gave us all the paint. We had a beautification project in Portsmouth. M&R provided everything, all the paint, the brushes. So you're right, you get people on board, because people are willing, but you just have to get them on board.
It sounds to me like
Yes.
it's just a more modern version
Yes.
of the Kudma we're used to.
Yeah.
Because back then in the communities we couldn't call on major sponsors. We just came together to do
Yes.
it. So now it's even a more advanced way
Right.
of doing the Kudma.
Because cost of living increased, you know, because to purchase these things you need cash.
Yeah.
Now, if you want people on board, you can't ask them to bring the things. You have to supply them with the materials.
Yeah.
Because, for example, you want them on board to tell them bring 20. You know, things are hard.
Yeah.
So if you get the businesses to give, then you get more people. You know.
You speak, for example, of community gardens initiative. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so like Mrs. Spinard is saying, one of the things that we're working on is collaboration among the various stakeholders. So currently, you know that we have this replanting initiative that's happening after Maria. We have stakeholders like Forestry, Ministry of Agriculture, as well as even the Ministry of Education, who would be interested in creating gardens, because we have to take care of our food supply, that's one, and we also have to teach the children about agriculture and to see it as a way of, as a source of livelihood, as well as a source of them having food security. So that's one of the things that we would like to encourage, that on a community level, if we can come together, again, like Mrs. Spinard is saying, it would require a lot of different stakeholders, such as sponsorship from businesses, as well as working with the different ministries that are involved, as well as you have your volunteer groups, your faith-based groups, and the youth. That is one of the biggest things. When we speak of Kudma, you hear all the adults saying that we used to do it all of the time, but the children don't want to do it. But part of the reason that they not involved is because they don't necessarily know, and there's not organized activities for them to get involved. So this is one of the things that we'll be working on, to actually put together on a ministry level activities that we can then look for support among the various stakeholders. And one of the things we want to do is community gardens.
Yeah. So you're speaking of it in the future tense. Have you made significant headway with that particular initiative?
So, I can speak on this point. We've been planting a lot of flowers and palm trees. Last week we were in Woodford Hill. We planted palms all along the beach. Yes, we've been to Grand Falls, Riviera Civic, a number of places. But in talking with Forestry, what we realize is that we purchase the plants, they purchase the plants, but people steal them. People destroy them. Yes, so what we're trying to do with that Kudma initiative, let people get ownership. If you helped plant it, you are watering it, then you will protect it. So if, for example, we just come from town and they say, oh, they just come and plant flowers, they don't appreciate it. But if they were involved, the children were involved painting, now they will have a better appreciation for what they did, and they will actually protect, guard the plants. So forestries, I'm pleading to the Dominican public, when we go out there and we plant, actually live it. It should beautify your community, you know, something like that. And probably what the initiative can do is probably give awards for the prettiest communities. Let's go back to that. I can remember a time when Pebush, we had yard competitions.
Of course.
Yes, the councils would plan yard competitions, and everybody planted flowers because they wanted to win, you know. So we need to go back to those things and let people appreciate their communities again.
I'm still a little bit curious though about how you are encouraging this community participation that you speak of. Have you reached out to certain groups of people in the community to facilitate
Do you
that?
know it's not difficult? We have a lot of groups. You have 4-H clubs, you have guides, you have brownies, you have so many church groups. We have people who just, like I said, if you ask them, you approach them, you write to them, they do come out. You have the sports clubs, the young men on the playing football. What I encourage my officers to do, meet them on the block. Don't just sit in the office. Don't just stay there and say, they will do. Go to the block. You see, you go to Kenfield, you see the young boys there, get them. You know, and like encourage them and let them come to you, not just sit there and think, oh, no, you have to go out. So what we do, we could do a lot of empowerment. We have 7 districts, I have 7 district officers, and what my officers do, they don't work in isolation. We work with the youth division officer, with the drug education officer, with the environment. So they team up, they have meetings, monthly meetings, and they put up a plan of action. So if like all now, so my staff, everybody's on the field. Now what they do is mobilize, they get to know what the people need, and we build on that. Then we go to our PS, we go to CREAD, and we say what project we're going to do next. And we try to do one in every district. So, you know,
Under the Kudma Initiative, you've also planned for community participation in development projects.
Yes.
Tell me more about what this entails.
Okay, so it's the same thing, like I said, getting the councillors involved.
Oh, I see.
Yes, getting the chairman to talk to his councillors and getting the people to know, because we cannot be in every community. We cannot be. And the council meets monthly, weekly, so they are the ones who actually will assist us in getting the project, getting some funding or assisting us with the projects, and getting the people involved.
And what about the apprenticeship mentorship program?
Yes. Okay. So again, like we said, we're not operating solo. We are in talks with the youth division and the Dominica State College, who has a service learning program. What we want to do is encourage businesses to participate, and also leaders in the communities to participate, where we can pair young people who may be doing particular skills development programs with an internship program or mentorship program, so that they are able to use their skills and they have somebody to help them out. So a lot of the internship programs tend to be based in Roseau. Not everybody's from Roseau. So what we want to do is to bring it nationally and have it on a community level, especially for the service learning. You have the students at the State College who require hours for them to graduate. Now, you have a lot of enthusiasm among the students to graduate, because from high school, that was a requirement for them to graduate. But then they encountered the difficulty of placement, finding places where they can use their skills to help out. So this is what Kudma is going to try to help with, to sort of like properly organize, perhaps create a database or website where we can connect people who want to volunteer with people who have volunteer opportunities.
So let's bring all of this together. And earlier we mentioned citizen empowerment as one of the objectives of your Ministry of Governance. How does this program all fit into the ministry's and the CREAD's objective for citizen empowerment?
Okay, so I'll talk on my ministries and you. So our citizen empowerment, we have like 3 things we actually promote. We are going to mobilize the public on key national causes and initiatives. We're going to promote volunteerism, and we're going to mobilize persons of post-disaster support. In other words, you saw after Maria, we needed. What we're trying to do is get people to know, like, after disaster, we need all hands on deck. It's not just my house, and everybody has to come together. So we have already partnered with CREAD, where we had 2 sessions, one in Sufre already on disaster preparedness. We had one in Kalibishi. So we go around. We're not only just talking, but we are already acting on our promises. So we have already begun. We got people, a lot of people in Kalibishi already interested in assisting us. So we'll be going to the different districts where we'll have seminars, we'll have workshops, we'll just get people involved. So that's a start for us.
Aisha, how does it help you to further your objectives at CREAD?
Yes. So one of the pillars of resilience for CREAD is building strong communities. And in order for you to build strong communities, you need people. And the individuals have to feel like they have the capacity to take care of themselves on an individual level. And that will translate to having resilience at a household level, then a community level, then a national level. I keep repeating that because for a nation to be resilient, the people need to be resilient. And Kudma is such a great example of the resiliency of Dominicans. Before we ever knew that word, we knew to come together and help ourselves out, right? The way that Dominica is, all the hills and mountains. If you're from the north, you probably don't really know anything about the south before modern roads, right? So communities were isolated and they had to rely on themselves. And that spirit still remains, and that is something that we want to encourage. So Kudma is all about taking that spirit of self-help that is in Dominica already, that spirit of volunteerism, and just like building it up, having pride in it, teaching our children about it so that it doesn't get lost. We want preschoolers to say, I'm going to do my Kudma and know what Kudma means, right? And so it's no longer, we don't have that generational gap that is happening between people who has participated in Kudma and understand the value of it, and people who only know almost a little of it, just sort of like know the name but have not been involved in it. So this is what we want to promote at CREAD through the Ministry of Governance, and basically it requires everybody, but the Ministry of Governance is where it will be housed, and then we will be reaching out to various stakeholders as we go ahead.
Well said, ladies.
Yes.
I think it's a brilliant initiative. I grew up with Kudma happening all around me, so I appreciate the importance of that community spirit to achieve common goals. But Aisha, there is another program ongoing under CREAD, the Strong Bodies, Strong Minds program that I know you're closely affiliated with. Tell us about that.
Yes, so the Strong Body, Strong Mind project is a 2-year pilot that is being sponsored by the United Way Trinidad and Tobago. It's been implemented by the National Youth Council of Dominica in partnership with CREAD. And the purpose of this program is to provide a holistic after-school programs for students. So we have 3 communities that we're piloting in: Newtown, Sufre, and we are now going into the Kalinago territory. And what the program does is, you know, a lot of students end school at 1 in the Roseau area, and parents are at work until about 4 or 5. So you have this period where students are on their own, or perhaps not as well supervised as when the parents are there. So what we want to do is create a space where students can, 1, learn new skills such as cooking, or they can enhance skills that they already have. If they are sports minded, we have football and cricket, or learn the traditions of Dominica such as traditional dance. And there are also times when you need help with homework, so we have remedial reading programs and ICT programs occurring. So it's an after-school program that we're hoping that we can nationalize through the support of key stakeholders, right? So we're trying it out to see how we can get that going.
What has been the response you've gotten to the program so far? What specifically have you done? How has it gone down with the participants?
Okay, so with SBSM, we have these 4 pillars. We want to teach the students life skills. We want to encourage parental involvement. We want to encourage community engagement, and one of the big things, youth volunteerism. So this program has actually been sort of like a soft pilot for the Kudma Initiative in terms of getting youth to volunteer in the programs. So the feedback we have gotten has been quite positive. It provides the students with space for them to use their time in things that they're interested in. We have partnered with the Dominica State College to get youth volunteers to help the adult facilitators in these programs. We encourage the youth volunteers to choose programs that they're interested in. So that helps them to do something that they like with the students. And unfortunately, the area where we have a little bit more of a tricky thing is the parental involvement. And it's not just for a program, we get that from the principals. It's difficult because parents work, so sometimes it's more difficult for them to participate. But we're hoping as we're going into the second year that we'll find ways to encourage parents to be part of it, perhaps having different activities where they can have like perhaps parents students sort of like bonding sessions. So we're working on that, but generally we have gotten great feedback from the participants or youth volunteers and the facilitators, as well as the principals of the schools where we're.
You mentioned that the program is going into its second year, but we know that we're in the middle of a pandemic which has disrupted school and student life.
For sure.
How have you adjusted, and how do you plan to continue?
Okay, so when we had the COVID protocols put in place by the Ministry of Health in March, what we did is that we spoke with the principals and the teachers to get ideas from them as how best the program could help. One of the things that we found is that there was a need to provide some sort of food packages to the students, because that's an area where some parents would have lost their jobs. And in our program, we do provide a healthy snack. So we wrote to our sponsors. They too was experiencing it, so they knew, basically asking to use the funds that we already had for the programs to redirect it. So we provided food packages to students in the key areas where we are, Newtown, Soufriere, and the Kalinago territory, as well as we provided educational kits with some art supplies. Some of the schools needed to print out some worksheets, etc., because not everybody had access to the internet, so we were able to provide them with some help doing that. So we are aware that we're not sure what is going to happen. We're planning to go on as if we would be able to meet, but at the same time know that we have to be flexible, so that if we were on lockdown again, then we would do the same thing, where we speak to the teachers, the principals, and find out how best we can help in that situation.
Mrs. Pinada and Aisha, I'd like you to weigh in on this too. Both of these programs seem to have a strong youth component. Mrs. Pinada, I know you've worked a lot in culture and in community development. Why do you think it's important to engage youth along these lines?
Like I said previously, I think a lot of blame is passed on the youth, like they're not involved, they don't want to participate. But are we encouraging them to participate? Do we give them the initiative? Do we give them the avenue to like express themselves, to volunteer? So I'm passionate about young people.
I know.
So our job is just to get them involved, sit down with them, talk to them, find out their needs, find out how they can assist, instead of sitting and criticize and leave them for the street. Get them, talk to them, and like, you know, sometimes when you talk to them, you get so many ideas. They have so many, but they just say, society shut them out, society ignored them. So talk to them, get them to volunteer. And we are community self-help soon, and community development. What is it? On 4th, yes, community of service. get them involved. They're sitting on the block, like I said, get to them. Find out how they can assist. Some of them are strong, give them to carry the wheelbarrows, give them to something. But like, we need to just speak to them and get their opinions.
Aisha, any?
Oh, yes. I think one of the biggest gaps we have is that we have not been making full use of our youth population. And like Mrs. Pinard said, one of the biggest things is that we have not been asking. We're expecting them to know, and a lot of times they do not know. If you call a community meeting, all of the senior know, the people who know to come, right? But as a young person, are you going to hear a community meeting and say, like, I'm going to go to that? You think, like, that's for my mommy, that's for my granny, right? So we have to make that special call to them. And in terms of the Community Day of Service, like I said, we have been working very closely with the Dominica State College Service Learning Program. So we have a registration form that we sent out to them, specifically for the Strong Body, Strong Mind project, but we also put in for other activities that they might be interested in, as well as asking them about the Community Day of Service activities. So we're hoping to collect some data from that and then contact them for that. But we have to advertise, and I think it's one of the cases where we have to put a special call out for youth when we're doing programs that we need their help in.
Yes, that sounds good. So ladies, as we wind down, by way of conclusion, what are we expecting to see from these projects going forward?
Okay, so going forward for the Ministry of Governance, we intend to continue our collaboration with other ministries or the stakeholders to beautify the entire country. Like forestry aim is to plant 1 million trees. We will try to assist any way we can. And our aim is just to mobilize people, to just get people to be patriotic again, get people to love our country again. Because we see, everybody wants to come to Dominica. Dominica is just the safest place I know. Get back to how we were before. I don't want everything we had before, but at least get the good of before and the good of now and combine them and just help build our country.
Yeah, that sounds good, Aisha.
Yes, and Kudma Dominic is all about modernizing what is already there, modernizing the tradition of Kudma. And what we will be working on very closely with the Ministry of Governance as well with the local government authority is helping to mobilize people for the Community Day of Service coming, well, November 4th, it's very soon, all right? So we will be in talks with the various ministries. CREAD's role is to help to coordinate activities that's already going on. There's a lot of things that's happening, but sometimes because you're in your ministry or in your organization doing what you have to do, it's difficult to know what others are doing. So we are taking a national approach to helping to coordinate all of the volunteer activities that's already going on and hopefully making it easy and fun for people to volunteer, especially the young people.
All right, so ladies, Mrs. Nadia Pinard, who is the Director of the Adult Education Division, and Ms. Aisha Richards, the Community Officer at the Climate Resilience Execution Agency of Dominica, CREAD. Thank you so much for joining me. As I said earlier, I'm very familiar with the whole concept of Kudma. So I look forward to how this unfolds in our community, how it turns out, and how the entire Dominica can benefit. We wish you much success.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
And thank you so much for joining us. Join us again.